No, I'm not going to talk about Trump's indictment.
The trans community, as they are under attack right now.
The problem in our country right now, authoritarian leaders.
Gavin Newsom, dictator of California, fights authoritarianism. There was a violent insurrection at the Tennessee Capitol yesterday, and I think that was pretty much it. Nothing else happened. Oh, wait! Former President Donald Trump got indicted yesterday by a grand jury in New York. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Friday, March 31st, the year of our Lord 2023. Slow news day. Not really much happened at all yesterday. Except for there was a violent insurrection in Tennessee that I guess made some news. Oh, and also the dictator of California is calling out dictators across the country. And Donald Trump got indicted yesterday by a grand jury in New York. That shouldn't be a shock to anybody, as the politicization of all of this is gone wild. Well, actually, you know what? Let's get to that first. Ladies and gentlemen, this just in. Home Alone 2-star and prominent reality television host is indicted for charges that would be hilarious if they weren't going to divide the country straight down the middle. You probably already heard. Donald Trump got indicted yesterday by a grand jury in New York, and I would love to just lay out everything, because there's a lot of terrible takes from the lefty side of the aisle, but there's also very poor defending of this on the conservative side of the aisle. I saw a ton of people on Twitter just jumping to Donald Trump is innocent, which is, yes, that's of this particular thing. Yeah, that's he's not going to have a difficult time fighting this really at all. We can talk about the politics of it. We can talk about Alvin Bragg and George Soros, but I just want to lay out what actually is happening, because I think conservatives, as we roll our eyes at this ridiculous nonsense, we probably should understand what exactly is going on. So, back in 2010 or something, years before he even decided to run for president, Donald Trump slept with a porn star, which he was a reality show television host and renowned playboy, and nobody was surprised by that. Then years later, I don't know if it was before or after he decided to run for president, he decided to say, hey, remember that evening that we shared together, Miss Stormy Daniels? Would you mind not telling anybody about that? Here's some money for you to not talk about that. One of the things that I feel like is being horribly misreported is that's not a crime. You're allowed to do that. Morally speaking, it's not cool. Hey man, yeah, while you're married with a young kid, don't go sleeping around with porn stars. How about we don't do that? But at the same time, paying somebody quote unquote hush money for something between two consenting adults is not illegal. That's, I think, one of the biggest misreported parts of this. Donald Trump is being indicted for paying a porn star hush money. No, he's not. That's not a crime. Here's what they're calling is a crime. And this is where I feel like conservatives need to make the better case for the argument. First of all, even the New York Times, the super, super lefty liberal New York Times, put out a piece last week when this was being a big thing, saying, yeah, this is a really flimsy case. This has never been tried before, weaving in and out of various rules and compounding a bunch of things in order to create a felony. What this effectively boils down to is a campaign finance violation. What Alvin Bragg, the DA in Manhattan, is making the case of is this. Donald Trump tried to cover up or paid off a suitor to not talk about this affair while he was married with a young kid. And therefore, feasibly, that possibly could have helped his presidential campaign. Except for, obviously, of course, it didn't, because Stormy Daniels, we all know about that. If that actually did help, nobody would have heard about it. Nobody would have been talking about it. Stormy Daniels wouldn't be a household name, and none of this would be happening. But because paying the not illegal hush money to the porn star possibly might have affected his presidential campaign in a positive way, then the accounting from which the money came from also should have been filed maybe as a campaign donation. What they're effectively saying is paying hush money to a porn star is not illegal. Trying to keep that out of the news, not illegal in any way, shape, or the form. But since he was running for president, it possibly, and again, it didn't, by the way, it didn't not come out. It eventually came out and nothing, so all of this seems to be a moot point. But the possibility that it maybe helped his presidential campaign, it should have been categorized like checking a box on a sheet that you submit to the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, as an in-kind donation to the campaign. In other words, of all of the things that you could indict a former president for, this is the most ridiculous. And again, even the New York Times says that. Effectively, what it's boiling down to is a campaign finance violation, which, just for the record, I have had to pay campaign finance violation fines. Barack Obama had several campaign finance infractions. And what I'm getting at here is literally everyone who runs a campaign, if scrutinized, will have to pay a fine for a campaign finance violation infraction. If you want to fine the guy, fine. That's fine. But to break the precedent of we've never indicted a president of the United States before over effectively a paperwork error is insane. And again, look, somebody tweeted yesterday, the irony of this is Alvin Bragg is indicting Donald Trump on this, but ironically would not prosecute him if he shot someone on Fifth Avenue. So there's that. Now, okay, so now to the political side of it. So the bottom line here is when conservatives are making the case for this, they should highlight how ridiculous it is. Like, we are literally talking about a paperwork violation, not, as the media says, Donald Trump indicted for paying hush money to a porn star. That's not illegal. That's bad reporting. Whether they're dumb or pushing a narrative, who knows? But that's not the case. What the case is, paying that hush money possibly could have benefited him. Therefore, maybe he should have listed it as an in-kind donation to his presidential campaign. Okay. So that's how people should be making that argument. It's a stupid indictment to begin with. The political side of it. So here is what I think a lot of people are missing in this conversation of the arresting political opponents and all of that sort of stuff. I actually don't think it's about that. I think Alvin Bragg, again, the DA of Manhattan, has gotten a lot of pressure from a lot of people to, hey man, back off this. This is stupid. Even from his own party, he's gotten a lot of people saying, hey, this is dumb. But here's the thing that I think a lot of commentators are missing. The right side of the aisle is obviously furious, but like, hey, you can't just lock up or arrest political opponents. The lefty side of the aisle is also saying, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're going to indict a former president, make it better than a paperwork error. But the thing that people are missing is that all of these George Soros-funded DAs, like Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, the dude in Philadelphia, George Gascon in LA, Chesa Boudin, formerly of San Francisco County, all of these George Soros-funded DAs aren't interested in reforming the system, thereby which you can arrest politicians and all this sort of stuff. That's not the point. The point for them is not to win elections based on doing crazy things from a political standpoint. The point / the strategy that they're after is tear the system down. So when you look at it through the lens of this isn't going to help your side, that's not what they're interested in. They're not interested in helping anybody's side. They're not interested in furthering their political advancements. They are interested, literally, in tearing down the system as a whole by doing outlandish and crazy things, and therefore being able to rebuild the system as they want it. It's not about pushing sides. And so when we look at it from a pushing sides perspective, as most of us do, of like, hey, this is a bad political move, this is a good political move. That's not how Alvin Bragg sees it. He doesn't see this as, well, a win for my side or a loss for their side. That's not how he's looking at it. He's looking at it as, I hope the system collapses around this insanity that I've created. That's what I think a lot of people are missing. You are not dealing with rational actors who are specifically trying to make political moves. You're dealing with somebody who has the goal and intent of tearing the system down by any means necessary, which would help better explain the fact that you're going to arrest a former president over a paperwork error. And look, I've said it many times on this show. There are a lot of things that Donald Trump does / did / will probably do in the future that I'm not a huge fan of. The guy shoves his foot in his mouth and makes it very difficult to defend him sometimes. Having said that, this is ridiculous, and everybody should know it. Joe Biden was asked about this on the way to Marine One today, and here's what he said. Check this out.
Your reaction to President Trump's indictment?
Are you worried this will further divide our country, the indictment?
I have no comment on that.
Mr. President.
Possible protests in the wake of the indictment?
No, I'm not going to talk about Trump's indictment.
Mr. President, do you think the charges against Trump are politically motivated?
I have no comment on Trump.
So obviously he didn't say anything and walked away from all the microphones. Not surprised. And two, I think in the White House, they are scrambling, rolling their eyes, because they are political actors. The people in the White House, the president, a lot of your big political people are trying to thread the needle of, yes, this is a political win for our side, or let's get a political win, but also this Alvin Bragg dude is crazy. And we should try and figure out how to navigate these treacherous waters that he's now put us in. Again, his goal is not to get a political win for his side. It's to tear the entire system down from its core. Now, obviously, there are a bunch of bad takes. Here's MSNBC. I thought this was ripe. Manhattan's first black district attorney carried out historic indictment of Donald Trump. That's from MSNBC. Jahan Jones of the Readout blog, Joy Reid's show. Why that matters at all is beyond me. But apparently MSNBC thinks it's appropriate / necessary / important to talk about, well, he's the first black district attorney, and he carried out a historically terrible indictment of a former president. All right. That seems racist to me, but, you know, whatever. MSNBC, historically racist and continues to be constantly. So we'll leave that there. Let me see. Anything else on this before we move on to other fare? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's get to the violent insurrection at the Tennessee Capitol. Yes, you heard me right. You might not have heard about this because all of the cable news shows last night were talking about the Donald Trump arrest. But here's this. A violent insurrection befell Tennessee yesterday as rioters stormed the Capitol. Is that how we do it? Is that how we're supposed to say this sort of stuff? Yeah, yesterday there was a big quote-unquote gun protest that, from the video accounts, looks to have turned violent in the Capitol there in Tennessee. And we've got some video clips to show what was going on there. Now, I hate to belittle the January 6th riot because, again, in a lot of ways, that was very, very terrible. But the way the media talked about it, I'm just mimicking what I think I'm supposed to do as a quote-unquote member of the media. I think this is how we're supposed the violent insurrection caused by angry individuals pushing a political agenda. Anyways, check out this video, and you tell me if this is a violent insurrection or not. Watch this. Okay, so that, again, appeared to be as violent of an insurrection in a lot of ways. So there's that. Some comments here. Karen says, no, that's a mob. Ryan does say this. That protest was mostly peaceful. You know, as a person who's now been a part of several mostly peaceful protests, the protest was peaceful until it turned mostly peaceful. Yeah, this is how this is. Now, I feel like a lot of people didn't hear about this. They're obviously protesting the gun thing, and we've talked about the Nashville shooting at length and don't need to cover it really much any further. But apparently this is what you get if you permit violence in a lot of ways. Now, and I'm on the train of the January 6th riot was terrible, and also all of the riots around the country, the burning down of major cities in America, that was just everybody in the lefty side just turned a blind eye to, and apparently got in the mind of a lot of Americans. I guess this is okay now. We can just mostly peacefully protest everywhere and just wreak havoc on things we don't like, or at least think that we don't like. So there is that. Again, it seems like, yes, this is a violent insurrection, if I'm supposed to be using the terms correctly. And will anybody talk about it? Probably not. Let's see. All right, moving on to something a little bit different. Oh, shoot. Holy cow. We've got so much to get to. All right, this is going to blow your mind. Seriously, this is going to blow your freaking mind. This is a preview / commercial for a 60 Minutes piece that will be airing on Sunday. I don't even know where to start with this. I just want you to watch, and if you have any comments, let me know in the comment section what you think, and we will have a discussion about it on the other side. Check this out from 60 Minutes Australia, this sneak peek. Check it out.
We didn't assign a gender at birth.
I'm letting this little person be who they want to be.
It is an experiment. What they're doing is unprecedented.
On 60 Minutes.
You can't tell what your gender is by looking at your body.
What are some of the biggest challenges?
Strangers in the street have had quite a strong response. Why are you so obsessed? Why do you need to know?
We're not trying to eliminate gender. It's really helping kids find their own path to it.
Sunday on 9 and 9 Now.
All right. So there's that. Now, look, let me break this down in the most rudimentary of views. In terms of how do we deal with this as a society, as a culture, as a government even. Look, if you know me and you know this show, I'm pretty hands-off when it comes to the government doing things. And there's two different pathways to go down, and I would love to hear your opinion about which one is the correct one. The first pathway is let those people do whatever they want with their kids, and if their kids turn out screwed up with huge amounts of trauma that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life, it is terrible that that's going to happen to that particular kid/individual, but maybe it will serve as an example for a bunch of other people to go, yeah, I'm not going to do that to my kid, and possibly let the situation work itself out. That's the one side. And again, I'm not saying I agree with either of these particular routes, but one has to be chosen as a society and as a culture, and I'm curious to see what your input is. That's one side. Just let them do their thing, and also not come to the rescue when it turns out disastrously. On the other side, the people, the community, society as a whole has an obligation to protect children from neglect/child abuse. Child Protective Services is an entire thing. If a child is being physically abused by their parent, among many other things, malnourished, there's so many different things that we as a society deem as neglectful or abusive parenting that allows the government/CPS to come and take that child and protect the kid, because that's what the goal of that is, to protect the child. Does this fall under that category? Is the other route to this saying, yo, like this has been scientifically proven to just screw kids up to the point where they're going to have irreversible traumatic damage in the future? You're not allowed to do that. I don't know. I'll be honest with you and say, I don't know. I'm a terrible talk show host. I don't have very strong opinions here. I just like to look at things and be curious about them. Is the option just let them do it? And then again, not come to, that's a big component of that. If you just let them do it, you can't come to the rescue and say, well, now we're just going to have an unlimited amount of money to throw at this problem that this person created. No, sorry. That's not how that works. You either let them do it and face the consequences of it, and hopefully people will learn from that. I think there's probably a better long-term strategy. Or do we as a society and a culture and a government step in and say, that's child abuse. We need to protect that child at all costs. You're not allowed to do that to a kid. I think the answer is somewhere in between that. But very, very difficult to look at and decide how to act accordingly to it. But holy cow, that is going to be a fascinating piece on 60 Minutes. And I'm so curious to see the angle that they take on it, because 60 Minutes also can, and this is in Australia, can say, hey, we're going to talk to, I'm hoping 60 Minutes also talks to some mental health experts. My wife being a mental health, I'll call her an expert. I have some strong opinions on what works and what doesn't, but I would hope that the 60 Minutes Australia team also talked to some, I don't even want to say detractors, some proponents of reality that'll say, yeah, this is going to irreversibly wreck these kids. I'm hoping they play it fair, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. We'll all be watching together. Maybe not you and me watching together, but we'll probably have some coverage on this Monday. Speaking of the trans thing, let's go to this. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, said some dumb stuff, which is not out of the ordinary for her. But okay, so We talked about yesterday the headlines that came out of the Nashville shooting. Again, terrible situation, awful, awful, terrible, bad. But it is fascinating. Charles C.W. Cook of the National Review pointed out the headlines in which the quote-unquote media-backed minority group or whatever is always the victim of being scared. A bunch of the headlines read after the trans person went and horribly murdered 9-year-olds, which is never acceptable, and nobody's trying to make light of that at all. But after the trans person committed a heinous act, the headlines everywhere were, trans people are scared, especially now. Okay? So they were the ones perpetrating the violence, and again, I consider this as just a crazy person. Now, maybe there's some truth to the fact that this person had some drugs that altered their mind, but I don't know. We'll stay out of that right now. But the bottom line is a trans person went up and shot a Christian school, and trans people are scared. Okay. Now, Charles C.W. Cook pointed out that the reverse of that would also warrant or elicit the same headline. If it was reversed and a Christian went and shot up a trans something, which I don't believe is happening. I haven't seen that anywhere. Geez, that could go into a whole different conversation, because I would imagine if that were ever to happen, God forbid, the Christian community would be like, this person is not a Christian. They can say what they want, but they're not that. The trans community does not have that ability. But anyways, if the reverse were the case and trans people were targeted and victims, the same headline would persist. Trans people are scared and afraid for what's happening right now, which is an interesting, fun little rhetorical trick played by the media. So there's that. Keep an eye out for that. Same sort of trick is being played in the White House press briefing room. I want you to listen to this as Jen Psaki, KJP, the White House press secretary, who somehow still has a job there, talks about how it's the trans people. They're the ones attacking and doing and also under attack. Watch this.
And one of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. But
so there's that. The trans community is under attack while also doing the attacking. This also in Biden says transgenders shape our nation's soul, just days after a trans killer shoots up a Christian school. Yeah, we don't need to read this whole article. This is the priorities, again, are I think the biggest craziness in my mind. The priorities that some people have are just out of whack. Let's see. Let me see if we can get some of these comments. Maybe. I'm not good at reading comments and trying to respond to them in real time. Wow, a lot of people weighing in, especially on Facebook. Appreciate all you who do that. I will try and get some of these maybe a little bit later. There's a Gavin Newsom story in here, but maybe we won't. Maybe we'll save that for Monday, because I don't know, we're butting up against some time here. Actually, nah, we're doing it. This is almost hilarious. Dictator fights against authoritarianism. The dictator in question, Governor King Dictator Lord Gavin Newsom of California, has launched a campaign to quote-unquote protect democracy. Now, if you live in California or you're familiar with the dictator's past actions, you think this is as hilarious as I do, but I want you to watch this video that Dictator Newsom put out talking about how, well, look at all of the authoritarianism around the country. Watch this, and then we'll discuss a little bit on the other side. But I wish I could laugh harder, and I would if this weren't so terrible. Watch this.
Let's be direct. We can't solve a problem without first identifying it. And the problem in our country right now? Authoritarian leaders who are so hell-bent on gaining power and keeping it by whatever means necessary that they're directly attacking our freedoms in state after state. That's why I'm launching the Campaign for Democracy. We're going on the road to take the fight to states where freedom is most under attack.
Dude, don't you just, you know what I really hate the most is all of the Republicans out there arresting political opponents and indicting them for really, really questionable crimes. That's what scares me the most. Those dang authoritarian Republicans, again, who are definitely the ones arresting political opponents. I'm pretty sure, right? That's who's being indicted. Okay, well, first of all, Gavin goes around saying, well, look at these authoritarian people not letting kids mutilate themselves, not letting mothers kill babies, and all of the other things that are thoroughly defensible. While at the same time, if you remember King Gavin in California during the whole COVID pandemic, shut down pretty much harder than everybody with, and I feel like we don't talk about this enough, with not even negligible impact. The California death toll / health toll from COVID was about the same as Florida. In other words, California just wrecked their economy. Gavin shut down everything because, he's a dictator and authoritarian fighting against dictators and authoritarians. Shut down pretty much dang near everything and had the exact same outcome as Florida, which didn't do those things. So King Gavin, with a hilarious stand-up routine talking about being the person that is going to rid the country of authoritarianism as I authoritarianize to you. Now, obviously, the reason Gavin's putting this out and going on this tour, we're going on the road. He's running for president. Everybody knows it. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, shouldn't be a shock to anybody. He's trying to increase his national profile. Same thing that Ron DeSantis is doing. He's not announced yet, but he's like in Iowa on a book tour. Like, yeah, he's running for president. Same thing with Gavin. Gavin is running for president and therefore wants to be in the public eye all over the country as often as he can, going on a tour to fight the very thing that he is, which is, I just find that so funny. That's like if Aaron Judge went on a tour saying, we're going to beat the Yankees. Or, yeah, I don't know. That's maybe not the best example, but I don't know. A hairstylist on the fight against scissors. Like, all right, Gavin, you bozo. The things that he's calling authoritarianism, I think a lot of us are calling, hey, maybe don't do that to kids. That seems like a extreme thing there. But turns a blind eye, or at least has a very forgetful memory when it comes to the actual authoritarianism of telling free adults they can't do things because he doesn't want them to. I don't know. Maybe people will see past the charade that is Gavin Newsom, but you know what? I'm having less and less faith in the ability of people to recognize insanity when they see it. I don't know. Who knows? So that's that. That will do it for us today and for this week. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. I am, not to toot my own horn here, I am increasingly hilarious on all of the social media platforms, especially Instagram. Instagram is going nuts. We've got like almost 100,000 people on that platform. So I really, really appreciate all of you who do that. And if you haven't already, give me a like on the Facebook page. I've been saying this for months, but we finally have broken through the technological advance to do the Jobob Unlimited show, which is my just an extended version of bantering about the news with several of my friends. So that'll be streaming live on Facebook. We're trying to do Tuesdays and Thursdays, but again, the schedule will be sporadic. So if you, go click the Facebook page, just type in, the Facebook Chiron is wrong if you've been watching the show for an extended amount of time, you know that. Type in JOBOB, you will be able to pretty much find me anywhere. And you can give me a follow and we can continue the conversations there. That'll do it for this week. Have a great weekend. I think yesterday I mentioned that I was going to be on Trace Gallagher's show on Fox News tonight. That is moved to Monday. So yeah, the nothing tonight. I'm gonna enjoy the evening. I'm excited to sit back, relax, and enjoy the evening, and have a great weekend. Spend it with your family, do some fun stuff, and we'll see you here on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend. God bless America.